Hello and welcome to the very first Kickboxing on Tap podcast. I was struggling to line up a guest for this show, but it dawned on me the ideal guest for my very first podcast was very, very close to home. So I'm very pleased to be joined tonight by multiple WKU World Kickboxing Champion and multiple World Taekwondo Champion, and my brother, Aaron Cobley. Aaron, thanks for coming on.
It's all right. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be asked to come on and speak to you.
Yeah, now I think the best place to start off the podcast with is you've got a fight coming up exactly a week today as we're recording this on the 8th of March down at Crooks Social Club in Sheffield. How's all the preparation going for that?
Preparation's going great. Still training hard. At the minute, I'm working up in Aberdeen, so I mean, it is difficult finding things to eat, that's quite healthy to try and, I've still got a bit of weight to drop, so trying to manage that, it's a bit difficult, but I'm in the gym every night. I'm training hard. I'm hoping the fight goes my way. I'm training. That's what I'm aiming for. I've got a plan in my head, and I'm going forward with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be difficult though, being up in Aberdeen, and not being able to get down to Rob Beeston's kickboxing academy where you train to, work on the pads and stuff. So what are you having to do instead while you're up in Aberdeen?
Well, I brought some of my Thai pads and my boxing gloves with me. So my roommate, who I also train Taekwondo with, he's been a great help holding pads for me to be able to train in the gym. I've been doing plenty of cardio, trying to keep, lose weight, but also just keeping fit, just keeping on it, you know what I mean? Just best I can do.
Yeah, so your opponent for this fight is Alex Warren. Now, I believe you were meant to fight him last time out, and then, according to Rob, he got a little bit scared, and that's why he pulled out. Another rumor I heard was he had an injury or some sort of illness. What do you make of him pulling out the first time round, and now actually getting a chance to take him on?
Well, the reason I heard was he didn't really say anything to the organisers about coming. He didn't inform them he was definitely going. So the fight got changed. All I can say is when we turn up on the day, I'm there for business. You see a different side to me when I'm in that ring. Anyone who knows me outside kickboxing, K1, will know I'm very light-hearted, but as soon as I come to a K1 fight, my head's in the game, I'm focused, and I'm in that mindset of I'm there to do one thing and one thing only, and I can party after.
Yeah, I mean, is there any part of you that's, a little bit sort of angry at him for pulling out the first time? Because obviously you sold tickets for the fight. He had me. I came, so I bought a ticket. Mum and Dad bought tickets. Family and friends had bought tickets. It was a bit disappointing that, you sold tickets on the basis I'm fighting this guy, and then on the day they goes, oh no, you're fighting such and such now.
Yeah, it is disappointing because you have that build up, don't you? You kind of train for that opponent. Luckily, I found out. I think it must be the week before that I definitely wasn't fighting Alex, but I didn't have any idea who I was fighting. I got told it was potentially 3 people, so I had to kind of do as much research on them 3 people as I could, see which one I get on the day, and you can. There's only so much you can do, really. You just got to go in the mindset of I'm going in there, I'm going to do my thing, and that's all you can do, I guess, really.
Yeah, I mean, how different was the second fight compared to the first? Because I know the first time round you weren't really sure going in who you went to be fighting again, and then he got on the night and he was like, "Oh, I've researched this guy," and you told me word for word he has a glass jaw when we were talking about your potential opponents. But what was it like compared to the second fight where it was like you didn't know that time round?
Second fight, I turned up to the venue, no idea who I'm fighting. I asked the organizer who I was fighting, and he pointed the guy out. I was like, all right. That's the first time I had any clue who I was fighting. I didn't know what the guy was like, but we had a great battle. I mean, neither one of us was going down. We were both throwing heavy shots, and unfortunately, I did lose that fight, split decision. But I mean, one day I hope we can have a rematch because I think that'd be a great fight to have.
Yeah, and I'm talking of great fights. I know Farhad Ali, the promoter promoting the fight. He's been making a lot of the fact that both you and Alex have got kickboxing and taekwondo backgrounds, both know sort of spinning techniques, I mean, what can do you think he'll live up to the hype? Because obviously, I know you love to follow. Anyone that's seen you fight knows you like the spinning techniques. But when you look at this guy you're taking on, do you think that do you think that build up to the fight is sort of spot on?
Yeah, we both both can throw kicks. It's obviously a matter of whether we're both going to be a bit wary of getting caught by one another's kicks. I mean, for me, I'm happy to stand in the middle of the ring and throw hands as well as I am throw the kicks. So I'll mix it up either way. We've all got dreams, and my dream's to finish it with a spinning kick. I think even he knows that's what's coming for him. Like, I've got my spinning kick side up, so I think he's going to be quite twitchy of me spinning. So, whereas I can't really say I'm too scared of his kicks, to be honest. I've watched a video of his fight. I've watched a video of his K1 fight, and I'm not really too scared, to be honest. I think I can. It's going to be a good fight. I just don't think he's got the power to finish me.
Yeah, was that the fight where he was against the guy that thought he was like the second coming of Prince Nassim, the boxer?
Yeah.
Where he just sort of danced around a bit, and the stoppage was. I'll try and post a link to it in the description of this video. The stoppage is very, very controversial in my opinion, because it seems less like a knockout and more of a finish, because the guy was too busy about arguing the referee than to address the standing 8 count.
Yeah, that's that fight. I mean, I have to laugh. I mean, he got an easy opponent. One thing I did notice is his side kick's predictable. You can see it coming. So I've just got to use my movement, move around him, pick my shots. What I've learned from my last fight, not every shot I throw needs to be full power. I need to line those full power shots up because otherwise I'll gas out. So
yeah. So like sort of final point of the fight. How's it ending, and what comes after the fight, I suppose?
Well, I'm hoping to end it with a KO. If not, I want that that decision win. That's what we all aim for. We all aim for the wins. After this fight, I'm not too sure, to be quite fair. I mean, I'm happy to fight anyone at the minute. Like, I just want to try and get my fights in. I've got my eyes set on the title. I want to go for that title. Hopefully, end of this year. If I can get a few more wins under my belt, I want to go for that title belt.
There's going to be a lot of people, I suppose, wondering how you got started in martial arts, because obviously we're brothers, and I'm on one side of martial arts doing the reporting side, and you're on one side of martial arts actually competing in anything. But for you, where do you remember starting in martial arts?
So, obviously, my brother, and you started just before me. I remember kind of watching it on the sidelines, doing it, and then eventually I did join in. I believe I was 6 when I started. So I've been doing it now. I'm 20. So I've been doing it 14 years. I've been doing it over half my life. It's what I love to. I love the sport.
Do you remember the argument I had with Mum and Dad about you starting martial arts? Because obviously it's something I got into through a mate called James Gunn. So James, if you're listening, shout out to you, man. But I remember having an argument with Mum because I remember being really protective of it. This is my thing to do, because you were doing football training or something at the time as well. Do you remember those arguments?
Yeah, I was doing football and swimming, wasn't I? So, but I mean, Dad did join in as well with us, didn't he? So I mean, we got to do it. We got to spend some time where our dad didn't we? Because he used to work away a lot. So it was great to spend. It was great to spend time with Dad as well.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of funny stories as well from it, didn't we? I suppose there was Christmas where they got sparring kits, and I just remember Mum and Dad just putting on letting us spar in the living room. I just remember Mum and Dad got us those sparring kits at Christmas one year, or Santa did, I suppose. But I remember getting them sparring kits on, and Dad being like, yeah, just test out, see how good you are. And then Mum going absolutely mental anytime we got near the cabinet. Do you remember them?
Yeah. I remember the time where we had to do that protection course kind of thing. Where you got someone came out as they had all gear on, and you spit your gum shield out and decided to bite them.
I can't remember that one specifically, but
I can. That was a funny one. That one.
Yeah, I mean, the one I always remember is the sparring kit one, and then Mum and Dad telling we used to work stuff our instructor at the time. They'd let us do that, and he'd be sort of almost horrified that they were sparring inside the house without him being there.
Yeah, there's been some very funny times, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, but I suppose starting from those funny stories, that's what, like the sparring kid story probably leads on to the next point. It's like how did we get involved? Can you remember how we got involved in the competing aspect?
Can't say I really can remember, to be honest. I can't remember my first competition. I mean, I remember it took me a long time to eventually win a competition, but
I mean,
I can't really remember my first competition, to quite fair. It's been that, because I've been doing it like that long, I can't actually remember.
I think it was the old Leisure Centre in Chesterfield, the old Queen's Park Leisure Centre. I'm sure that's where we had his first one. Bit like that year, that was sort of like a bug for especially for you, because like after that we went down to competitions in Bristol and Swindon, all over the place.
Yeah. I remember we used to do a lot of travelling, didn't we?
Yeah.
Most weekends we were travelling to compete.
I remember Mum and Dad having I just remember Mum and Dad having nightmares with the school we were at, especially when we were in secondary school. And you had to go. There was a competition went to Scotland, and Mum and Dad having a massive row with the school about trying to get his time off. I think it was just a Friday afternoon, just so we could go up the day before the competition instead of to go up in the morning. I remember Mum and Dad having a massive go about that. But do you always remember? This is something I always felt in school. Do you think that we were unfairly picked, or you especially, were unfairly picked on, like sports classes and like just classes? If you got in trouble, unfairly picked on because we did martial arts?
You know what? Like I wasn't one of the popular kids in school. I went into the football. So obviously the PE teachers got along with all the popular kids who were into the football and that. Obviously, if there were any drama kicking off between you and one of them kind of people, the teacher kind of leaned to their side. I mean, I had a few disagreements with people in my year, but nothing ever led to where it happened. But it's one of them, like, teachers. They say, they haven't got the favourite students, but we all know they do. They favour some students.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose moving on to sort of more positive stories, they did let us have the time off to go to the first ever World Championships in America for you. What was it like actually get to go, like, for you competing? What was that like, to go over there and compete?
For me, that was like, obviously, that was the first big one, wasn't it? I said, there was a lot of nerves because I want, you know what I mean? Like, I was used to competing at that point. I'd competed all over. There were a lot of nerves, but it was fun. And I really enjoyed the continuous sparring. But when we came to the points, I remember I lost my temper a bit and decided I'd take it full contact, taking a kid's gum shield, flying across the room, taking two people to go find it. I mean, I like doing points fighting when it's with people who are on my same ability. But when you go to competitions and you're against people who just train for it, I don't. The reason I don't do points is I don't enjoy it. It's like if I trained to do it, it'd be great. The people would be on my same wavelength. It'd be a lot, it'd be like me going into the continuous event, but in points. But because I don't train for it, it was very annoying. You've got to know it's more of a game, the point side I see it as. I mean, there are some great points fighters out there who are great at what they do, but it is a bit of a game. To me, I see it as more of a game of like TIG kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, but that was the first time you ever got to stand on the podium as well. So I'm sure that's the first competition I remember us both going to, and there being a podium ceremony and stuff like that. But what was that like when you saw, like, because obviously the whole England team always went to each other's podiums. And, like, what was it like seeing, like, Master Wolf's Academy and the guys you trained with, the guys that came over to support you, all sort of like cheering you on, like, because you got third place in that championship, didn't you?
I believe third or second, I can't remember. I think it was, might have been third. But it was, I can't really describe it. It was like one of those moments that takes you back, and you're quite like, wow, like this is actually happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was dead. I was really happy, and it was an amazing feeling. I mean, that you always get that feeling no matter how many times you've been up on that podium and you got your friends and your family and the people you train with, and you're all singing, like, especially when you win the world as well and you're singing your national anthem. It is an amazing feeling.
when you talk about the amazing fields, we've also got to think about times when things weren't as good. And I think the big story I can remember is I think the biggest story you can tell is about the injury you suffered it'd been a few years ago now, and how that all came about, and what life was like with the injury, and then having to recover from it.
3 years ago now. It'll be 4 years this year. I had a motorbike accident where I broke my femur and also lost part of my thumb. It was quite hard. Like when I was in hospital, even after my surgery, the first day I couldn't get out of bed. The second day I managed to actually get out of bed, but the third day again I couldn't get out of bed after. I was knackered. I couldn't eat properly when I was there. Luckily, because it did happen just before Christmas, I managed to get out just before Christmas. But there was a long road to recovery, a lot of persistence, just having to get up and do my physio exercises, but also just trying. I shouldn't have been doing some of the stuff I was doing. Like, I think it was the second day I was out of hospital, I managed to walk without crutches, which I wasn't meant to be doing. But for me, I just had one goal set in mind, and that was to get better. And then when I was able to train, started off really light, and then I had a Worlds coming up that year, and I took some one-to-one sessions with Chris Randall. He was a great instructor who was pushing me, and I was just working constantly, even through the holidays that we have in our Taekwondo elite. We have a little break where we get with time to rest and that. Every day I just trained every day non-stop, just as much as I could, just to get to where I should be.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be people listening to this who might be dealing with injuries right now. They might be worried about injuries and stuff in the future and how to recuperate. What was the advice you could give to anyone? Well, what is the advice you give to anyone who's having to come back from an injury? What would be one piece of advice that you give to them that is the essential advice?
Listen to your physio and listen to your body. So if you do something and it doesn't feel right, don't do it. If your physio's telling you not to do something, don't do it. If your physio's giving you exercises, listen to them and do those exercises, because they're going to help strengthen or help, you get back to where you should be.
I mean, with big injuries as well, there's always a mental aspect to them. You see big fighters talking about, mentally, it's obviously injuries can be a lot more difficult because they can't go to the gym and train, and that might be where they get frustrations to pass. But what was it like for you, sort of having to sit on the sidelines and watch other guys compete and train?
Well, I did. There was a competition. I think I went to 2 competitions just to watch and support and coach, and for me that was a killer. It was absolutely horrible because all I wanted to do was compete and I couldn't. I mean, even though at that point I was just doing light training, I'd have been in no fit state to compete. I had to realise that myself. So that's another point. Don't, just because you can do light training and there's a competition thing coming up and you want to do it, don't push yourself to do it. Only go when you're feeling ready. But I believe coaching others and giving yourself your mind something else to focus on, like help other people get better, because then when you're back to being able to train, the people you've helped coach get better, they're going to start pushing you along as well. And as well, those people will remember that as when you was in a bad time and you still help them. Obviously, if ever the roles reverse, they'll do the same for you because they remember what you've done for them.
Coming back from that injury and then you went to the World Championship. What was it like when you stepped foot onto the World Championship? It was like, because I think it was only like 4 months after or something. Where it was less than half a year. I know that for certain.
It was a short time, yeah. I mean, I was nervous, but I'd done like 2 little kind of competitions before that leading up to it, just trying to get the feel. And I was just ready to go. I was ready to show people I'm back and I'm in business. I've been working on some drills in my one-to-ones, and in all my fights, I landed that drill. And in some of those fights, it even ended the fights. So I was happy with how it went.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing we've got to talk about in sort of the martial arts career you've had so far is I think it's 2018 WK World Championships in Athens. I mean, you competed in 6 events and took 5 golds and one silver, and the silver was contentious in the kick light category. I mean, what was that like? Because obviously that competition you went out and you competed alongside Nathan Jones, who's a cage warriors fighter, a British MMA veteran, and Jermaine Hemmings, who is a striking coach for UK bantamweight cage fighter Cameron Ellis. What was it like going to that competition and competing with those guys?
It was great. I mean, I'm starting to get more relaxed with the big competitions that I've attended now, so there wasn't too much nerves. Kind of step on the mat, just go through what I've been practicing, training. We worked this hard for that event, so we're there. You've got to go for it. Some of my fights, I didn't feel I did my best. I could have done more. That final in the kick light, it was controversial, but when I look back on videos, I did some silly things. I was a bit too, I probably looked a bit arrogant when I was fighting. But that's the way it is sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, we've got to learn from when things go wrong. We can't just blame the obvious things. You've got to look at yourself and go, it's not always someone else's fault. It can be our own mistakes, and you've got to be, man enough to go, made mistakes. Let's work on those issues. But that final, it was a good fight. I mean, it did end with me winning by TKO. I mean, it was unfortunate for the guy because he kind of did go into the kick, and it's what cut his eyebrow open. If it went the distance, it'd have been a close fight.
I mean, but like, specifically, you were training at that competition. You were with guys like Nathan Jones, who, he's an MMA veteran in the UK. He's one of the best fighters in the UK, in my opinion, in terms of what he can do striking wise and both grappling wise. What was it like getting the chance to sort of learn off him and watch him fight?
It was great to watch him fight and how he moves and how relaxed he is with it all. But as well as that, he's such a nice guy out of everything. Like, me and Nathan Jones were in the men's teams together, and we were having a laugh. Like, I've got some really good memories. We had a really good laugh. I'd like to think I'd be able to call him my friend.
Yeah, is there any stories you can actually tell us on the podcast that it's not going to get me demonetised?
Saying that we're bench buddies in the men's teams because some of the teams didn't have enough fighters, so there were only 3 of us able to fight out of a 5-man team. And one of the times me and Nathan didn't fight, so we're taking the mix, saying that we're sending each other to the bench. So we were both laughing all the way through. That just continued through all the men's divisions. Deciding, having a laugh between each other, going, "You're going to be benched this fight now. You're going to be benched this fight." So it was a great laugh.
Who are the role models for you in your martial arts journey? I mean, from coaches to people you watch on TV, who are the sort of standout role models for you?
Raymond Daniels is a big one. Michael Venom Page is also a very big fan. Like, I'm a big fan of him. Those guys are amazing at what they do.
Yeah, what is it that sticks out from you for those guys? Because obviously we all know about their technique, and we've all seen their knockouts. I mean, the Raymond Daniels one, where he did a 720 punch at Birmingham last year at Bellator. I mean, that was the sickest knockout I think the world's ever seen. I mean, but what is it specifically for you that sort of grabs your attention and makes you go, I want to be like those guys?
It's the style, the relaxed. They've got the speed, the kicks, but they've also got the hands there as well when they need to use the hands. And that's what I'd love to be like, that relaxed movement they've got, no worry, and then bang, they're in. The speed of them guys is immense.
Yeah. I mean, you've also worked with some quality coaches at Heart of England Taekwondo and at various kickboxing clubs in your time, but, who inspires you out of those guys, and what's it like working with some of the coaches there?
I've got to say, a big one is Chris Randall. Since being little, since I even started Taekwondo, I believe, I've always looked up to him and wanted to be like him. I mean, I've had the opportunity to fight him in a competition as well. I did lose against him, which I will take with pride because he's a great fighter. He's got the speed, the movement, and the power that he generates is immense. but there's also people like Paul Rowe, who I train with, but also work with. So he's been holding pads for me this week. He's a great coach. He can see where I might be going wrong and help put me in the right way. As well, I've got 2 incredible instructors in Stephen Wagstaff and Rob Beeson. Both have taught me so much. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, what for you as someone that competes regularly and competes at international level in kickboxing and taekwondo? What for you makes a great coach compared to what makes a good coach? Like, how do you go from good coach to great coach, in your opinion?
So I was in a fight in a competition. There was a little Chris Randall coaching me, and there was a little break in the fight, just so the kid he needed to sort his glove out, I believe. And Chris just noticed there was a little gap, and he went slip to the right hand. So I did that, and the kid dropped, and I won that fight just by TKO because he couldn't continue at that.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's just spotting those little gaps, but also not kind of trying to shout at you as you're fighting. Like, wait until you're in between rounds to go, look, this is where this kid's going wrong, or just try doing this. You know what I mean? Noticing things that you've not quite noticed as you're fighting.
I mean, I read in John Kavanagh's book that one thing he says is like, as a coach, you need to be able to tell when to give emotional advice, like, calm down, you're winning this fight, things like that. And there's other times when you need to be able to give the technical advice. But in order to know when to give that advice, you need to be able to read your fighter. I mean, for you, you've coached now as well. You coach with some of the younger kids at Heart of England. What does it take to form a bond with the fighters so you know them that well?
Just the longer you train, like just training with them as well, you get to know them and how they fight. Probably one of the best ways, I believe. But the longer you know them as well, you build a bond with them. Like, some of the people I've trained with, like, for a long time now, could tell you just by watching me fight what move I'm probably going to throw next, just because that you see me build up into a move, they know what's coming.
I mean, I think one of the big coaches who've not yet sort of touched upon that you've worked with is Gary Bradshaw, who is the master black belt in Taekwondo, seventh dan. He coaches he was a coach in the armed forces at one point in Taekwondo. He's trained God knows how many world champions now. I mean, he's quite a meticulous coach, and what's it like having to train under him and go into his elite sessions on a Saturday since you're a teenager, I guess.
Right, if we have set on a drill, we will drill it till everyone's got it. So you want to bring everyone. It's always you're trying to bring everyone on as well. So say you've already done that technique, you know what you're doing. You could work with someone who's younger than you and try and help bring them on. But we do drill techniques. You just drill. Like, you've got to repetition. So you get something down.
Yeah, I mean, how many world champions do you think you can train? Because it just seems to be the Heart of England pulls out world champions out of nowhere, trains them from very, very young, taken to the elite level, teenage level, and takes them down to adult level as well. I mean, what's the key to success in the Heart of England? And taking kids from 6-7 years old and then be able to train them to a world champion by the time they're 20 years old.
I think it's finding the kids who are willing to put in the effort, and also, making it not too, but like making it a bit more fun for them as well. You don't want it to always just be just draining. You want to, have a bit of, have a bit of fun, I guess you could call it, with them as well, just to keep them entertained. But it comes down to the kids as well. Like, if someone really wants it, they're gonna go for it. And Art of England have had a lot of people who, when they've started, they've caught that bug and they're like, I want to be the best, and they've reached for that. And there is quite a few people who've reached that.
Yeah, you mentioned catching, kids catching the bug at a young age, but we also know from we've trained in martial arts for years. You see people catch that bug, but they also lose that bug. How does a good coach keep someone interested in the sport? So they will want to train to that level and want to keep going, or does it have to completely come from the fighter?
there's not much a coach can do other than just try to keep the fighter, engaged and keep them believing it, because a lot of it can come down to they don't believe in themselves no more. But it is a lot down to the fighters as well. Like, I've known a lot of my good friends who I've trained with. They go to university, life gets in the way. Like, they go into full-time work and they find it hard to get to training. So there is various reasons.
So it's 2020, and of course that means it is Olympic year. So we've got the Tokyo Olympics coming up in the summer. And one of the big sort of talking points going into the Olympics is the fact that karate has been introduced, where that sort of leaves Taekwondo. I mean, obviously we know it's a different style of Taekwondo in the Olympics. It's WT style, but I've got to ask, what do you make of WT style Taekwondo?
I'll give it to them. They've got some flash kicks, but it's not that entertaining. It's, you know what I mean? Compared to ITF, where you can do the punches and the kicks as well, like, it's different. For me, it's not as entertaining. There's a lot of cheating that goes on as well, like holding the body armors, tying them up. When someone's in the lead, they just tie the person up and make it so they can't throw any shots. It's easy little tactics like that, and it's becoming more of a gameplay, and it's losing it.
Yeah, I've got to ask you about that, because we saw World Championships was held. I think it was either last year before. It was held over in Manchester over here. And Bianca walked in. She won the gold medal, but she went in such contentious fashion because basically she just sort of clinched her opponent and sort of walked around the ring. I mean, does that seem to you make a mockery of a martial art that literally breaks down into foot fist weight when translated into English?
Yeah, it does. I mean, any ITF, boxing, Thai boxing, kickboxing, K1 fight, if you clinch, the ref stops you, breaks you, and you go again. You shouldn't be allowed to hold on, but the reason they do is because they can do those, those high crescent kicks. Yeah, they're good, but the ref's not seeing the people grab on to the body armors at the back, and it shouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? Like, there's other refs that could potentially probably see them holding on, but they should be allowed to say something.
Yeah. Now I've got to ask you. Yeah, I've got to ask. Like, what do you think needs to be done to fix WT Taekwondo? Because we've seen over the years that it's something I was discussing with Adam Shelley actually the weekend just gone, that they've tried altering the shape of the ring to an octagon to sort of replicate MMA. They've started changing how the points are scored, the fact you can't do knockout techniques. They've changed all sort of things to sort of make it more appealing, but nothing seems to stick. But from you as a fighter, someone that's involved in martial arts, what do you think they need to do to sort of like change that up?
Allow punches to the head. Personally, make it more. It needs to be ITF. WTs, it's done. It's, if you told one of those to go in the street, you know what I mean, what's going to happen? They try doing that. If someone steps in and punches them in the face, they're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
whereas you do that to any other fighter, the hands are up, they'll fight back. You know what I mean? Those guys try to move back and kick them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there that, you need to bring in ITF rules. But I think the main thing we're missing here, the sort of main argument against that is the ITF can't agree with themselves about, what should really go on in Taekwondo. Because we've seen umpteen ITFs come out and, so we started in ITF when we were in Puma, and then we left Puma and we started becoming something else. Then went to UK ITF, and then it became UITF or something or other. It turns out now there must be God knows how many ITFs in the world. Do you think is that the only sort of sticking point to get ITF Taekwondo in the Olympics?
I think it'd be a great idea. I think the reason there's a lot of splits is, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of bigger people out there after the money. I mean, the rules are pretty much all the same in all the ITF, competitions you go into. So, to me, I'm not sure why we can't, all join together and make it a united ITF group. Because then if you had a World Championships or it went to the Olympics, you are getting the best of the best. Whereas I can say I'm a world champion, but am I really a world champion if there's 7 other different ITF world champions out there?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with there was a organisation last year. And they said they were hosting a World Championships. I think it was in Birmingham or something like that. It turns out their definition of World Championship was basically people from Scotland or England. Do you think when you get promotions like that, or groups like that, they say they're ITF and that their championships are the World Championships, it makes a mockery almost of the title World Champion? Because if you went into that competition and you won it, could you realistically come out in good faith and say, yes, I'm a World Champion? Or would you come out and say, no, I'm not a World Champion, I'm just a regional champion?
I mean, I've been to some similar kind of events, and I kind of thought after, I'm like, I'm not really a world champion. I can't call myself world champion after that event. To be a world champion, to me, you've got to be in a competition where there is, a lot of different countries, and there's quite a few people in your category. You've got to earn it. You can't just have one or two fights against one or two different countries.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting a bit sidetracked here. But I mean, one of the things I was discussing this with Ross Sharma in an interview the other day, and he was saying that obviously he runs the BUTL, which is the British University Taekwondo League, and they merge WT and ITF styles together for sparring. So they keep the patterns separate. The patterns obviously being like the forms of the katas they're doing karate, for those who maybe don't know what those are. But he was saying the way they managed to sort of get around it is they've introduced a point system where it is a kick to the head is 3 points, regardless if it's spinning, jumping, whatever. That's 3 points. A kick to the body is 2 points, and a punch to the body or head is a point. Sort of almost like it was back in the Puma days when we both started Taekwondo. Do you think that's a point system that needs to be recognised in the Olympics? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion about, do you need to spin a certain way to win an extra point, and there's all sorts of confusion about jumping stuff.
I do think the spinning headshots should be more points. It's hard. The harder to pull off, the more flash. To me, it should be 1 point. 1 point for a punch to the head or body. 1 point for a kick to the body. 2 points for a head kick. 3 points for a spinning headshot. That to me is how it should go. Because that way, I believe it's quite simple. Yeah, it's quite simple, really, to me. That.
Yeah. Do you believe that would make the fights more interesting, because we'd see like fighters going for the sort of more highlight reel shots? I suppose what you call them, the Raymond Daniels sort of style kicks where they spin around, 360 degrees and kick each other's heads off. Do you think that would make the fights more interesting? Almost, I suppose, save Olympic Taekwondo away, because it really is in a danger zone at the minute, which I'll talk about in a minute.
I think you would see some of those kicks, but you'd also see the basics coming back into play. Of you don't have to score all them fancy shots to win a fight. You could win a fight just by doing a body kick, 2 punches, body kick. That's 4 points there straight away if you score them all clear. Whereas you'd only get 3 points if you got a spin head kick.
Yeah.
So it'd bring out the different styles of going from basic to someone who could be like Raymond Daniels doing all the spin stuff.
So I suppose there's two main dangers as well for Taekwondo, isn't there, in the Olympics? One is the fact karate has been introduced this year as an exhibition sport before becoming a full Olympic event in 2024. That means the number of martial arts in the Olympics is being increased. I mean, do you think the inclusion of karate means that maybe the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, are going to maybe look to release one martial art? Because you think about how many martial arts you need the Olympics.
I thought, to be quite fair, I heard some talk that WT might be coming out. I mean, if they replaced it with karate, you know what I mean, it could be different. I think from what I've seen of some good karate people, it could make it quite entertaining, because some of them do know how to do the throws. It is sharp, it's fast. It's a bit like points fighting, but a lot more traditional and not as, tiggy. It's got to be a clear point. It can't be anything daft. It's got to be a proper technique.
Yeah, almost. I think it's probably the best way to describe it is if anyone's watched Karate Kid, a bit like the scene from that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe not a spectacular finishing kick. You might not see anyone go upside down. But you do see some great stuff. Like I've seen some guys being swept and thrown event in Germany in the karate, and I was took away. I was like, I've never seen it like it, and I think it could be great.
Yeah, I mean, is that a rule set that you think Olympic Taekwondo could bring in? Because we also know that you do practice sweep kicks in Taekwondo. It's just you're not allowed to do them in competitions. Do you think if they maybe brought sweep kicks into competitions that might make things a bit more interesting? I mean, if you've got one guy going for a head spinning kick and the other guy just takes his feet out from underneath, I mean, that's going to create some sort of viral video, surely.
I mean, in that kind of sense, yeah, it could be good. But there's also the definition of what kind of sweeps would you be allowed to do, and then you've got it'd be sometimes you'd get people who throw a sweep and it's too high or something. You know what I mean? It'd be very controversial on people going, well, that sweep should have been allowed, that shouldn't have been allowed. You know what I mean? It could cause quite a lot of controversy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the secondary threat we've got to address with Olympic Taekwondo is this rumour that the IOC wants to make the Olympics a bit more futuristic to get younger generations involved. So skateboarding's been introduced. Apparently, there's other sports want to be introduced as well. But the big one I'm hearing they want to introduce is esports. I mean, if things like esports are introduced, they're going to take up far more money and far more space when they need to organise them, because they've got to put in like monitors and all sorts of like big screens and stuff for crowds. Do you think that's really good? Throw it out. This sort of martial arts are almost be sort of sacrificed to have esports in. So, just because
I don't want to sound dumb, but can I ask what esports is? I've not heard of that.
Yeah, so it's like these people play Fortnite and stuff online.
Oh, come on, that's not sport, is it really? I mean, credit to people, it can be great on online gaming. Yeah, you can have a good person who's good at gaming, but is that a sport? Is twiddling your thumbs a sport?
I mean, I think you're only saying that because you always lose to me at FIFA, but there you go.
I'm not being funny, but I could go get a toddler to come and sit and play video game. Yeah, they might not be as good as them guys, but they could still play that game. Could you get a toddler to come and compete in a martial art or do the martial art?
I mean, probably not. Yeah.
But it's not hard to just move your thumbs, is it, and click buttons. Whereas you're putting yourself, in a way, you're putting yourself at risk doing this, like a proper sport as well. You know what I mean? Like, you could get hit, you could get caught by a shot that even knocks you out, or you could get a real big injury that stops you ever competing again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big reason for wanting to get your sport involved is because of the massive followings they have online. We know the Olympic viewing numbers on TV are sort of gradually decreasing over years, whereas these esport, Fortnite tournaments, for example, probably the biggest example, are getting just absolutely millions and millions of views and streams. I mean, do you think that's really worrying, that the fact these sports, the basic online, the kids are, 16-year-old kids with a computer in front of them, are now actually more entertaining or deemed more entertaining than two people who are trying to outpoint each other out, possibly knock each other out as well?
I think the real problem is, like, kids like people. I say kids, but I mean people like my age would rather stay indoors and go on the PS and Xbox and all that than actually go out and do something. It's a lot more, I think, to do with society not wanting to take part in the sport as well. Like, for us, our mum always told us go out and play, didn't she? Whereas a lot nowadays, they just let the kids sit in front of the TV all day and play on games all day, and it's like, it's not good for them. Kick them out the house, make them go play, make them go be more active. And like, you see kids just hanging around on street corners as well. Like, you need to get into something to keep yourself busy and active that you're going to enjoy, instead of just like, to keep them busy and entertained and active, rather than just sitting them in front of the TV. It doesn't do anything good for them, or just letting them go be a chav in the street. Like, you know what I mean? We need to think about, it's more to do with society and what kids are like these days, in my opinion.
So, the British Olympic Committee, who organised London 2012, said one of the big things they wanted to do was like to create the London legacy, which is getting more kids involved in sport. Do you think that has failed and that is now affecting more traditional sports in the Olympics?
Definitely. I know personally a lot of kids who I went like, even if I'd go to school with them, a lot of them wanted sports. It was like, they'd always come in talking about the latest game on the PS4 or the Xbox or whatever. They'd come in talking about the game and that, and it's like, I wouldn't know what they're on about just because I was always active. I was like yourself. I never really was indoors unless I was grounded. I was always outside, climbing a tree, on my bike, on my scooter, on my skateboard, doing something. But kids and young adults nowadays aren't. So, in my opinion, I think it did fail.
Yeah, I mean, sort of my final question on this is, to you, is Olympic sport, is Olympic Taekwondo dead in the water?
I'd definitely say so. I think there's not a big following for it. A lot of people would prefer to see kickboxing or ITF. A lot of people I've spoke to or know have said that.
I mean, as a kickboxing-based channel, I mean, kickboxing Olympics sounds a pretty good idea to me. But does that again fall into the same problems ITF Taekwondo has? Because you've got so many different kickboxing groups. I mean, there's WKU, WKA, ISKA, Waco, all these different groups. Is it the same problems that ITF's got, really?
Yeah, it's the same problem. There needs to be a unified aspect to it so they can have one rule set, one point system, and go from it. I mean, if every sport could just get their heads together instead of being about a money-making scheme, you'd have, I think, people would look at it and go, I want to be like that guy, because you'd see all the best people. Like, I can guarantee there's so many good people out there in Taekwondo, kickboxing, that people will never see because they're not getting that chance to be seen.
So, Aaron, thank you for coming on, taking the time to join us. I know you've got a few sponsors to shout out that have been helping you out, so go for it, man.
I'd like to say big thanks to Martial Arts, Pro Direct, Onyx. Those guys have the best equipment for Taekwondo and kickboxing. Honestly, you should check them out. And also Williamson's commercials. I can't thank you enough for always sponsoring me for every fight. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Cheers for taking the time, Aaron. I'm sorry we can't make it down to your fight due to work circumstances, but I know we're probably going to catch up after the week after and probably go for a beer or something to celebrate it.
Oh yeah.
Once you get that W. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.